Oops, somehow this year is almost at an end and blah blah blah. Needless to say, this has been a very unique year, just sort of in general. But as far as the world of gaming goes, we've had some really good releases this year as well. Not anything as earth-shattering to me as, say, Breath of the Wild was, but still, I can't complain about the games I've gotten to play this year. We don't often do list videos on this channel, but anyways, I'm sure you know how this works. And of course, these are just my opinions, so keep that in mind, because that's how having favorites of things works. Common sense, guys. But in no particular order, here are my personal top 5 Switch games of 2020. Oh, and by the way, spoilers for every game in this video. Sorry about that. Okay, so I'm just gonna get this out of the way. Animal Crossing New Horizons released in March. Around that time, I was really unsure if I would even get the game, but I am sure glad I did. Animal Crossing New Horizons, which I'm just gonna call Animal Crossing for the rest of this video, is the type of game that has sort of ceased to be a game for me and is just a part of my daily routine. It's somehow just assimilated itself into my life. I see no stopping to my playing this game, especially given the frequent updates that they put to inject more content into the game and all of the seasonal events. Also worth noting, this isn't really a game you can just beat or win at, which is how it's endured throughout the entirety of the year for me. I should mention that I have never played any of the previous Animal Crossing games, so I really didn't have any expectations, but let me tell you, I have enjoyed the heck out of my time on my island, Banana Town. Yes, I know there's no bananas, that's just what I named it. There's a lot I could say about Animal Crossing, both good and bad, but most of my nitpicks come down to me just wanting more of the things that I liked. Such as, hey, why can't Leaf get a permanent shop like the Able sisters do? Anyways, I like Animal Crossing New Horizons so much it's the only game to even get close to encroaching on my Breath of the Wild playtime. Also, can I just say, dear God, 800 hours in less than a year? What has my life become? Okay, so Pikmin 3 on the Wii U was probably my favorite game on that console, and following Nintendo's trend of just re-releasing its best Wii U games to give them a second life on Switch, we got Pikmin 3 Deluxe. Now this game is 7 years old, and in some areas, notably some of the blander ground textures, it shows. But overall, the presentation in the game is still gorgeous. Like, look at those leaves, look at the plants, look at these cute little guys. Sadly, Pikmin is notoriously an unpopular series, but I love these guys to bits. Pikmin 3 Deluxe is also a stellar port of the game as far as content goes. We're not just talking new funky mode, they really went all out, adding in all of the original game's DLC and a ton of new content in the form of these side stories. Now, if you didn't know, Pikmin 3 is the only game in the series in which Olimar is not your main protagonist. Olimar and his colleague Louie are instead swapped out for Alf, Brittany, and Charlie, who are on the planet PNF 404 for unrelated reasons to Olimar, when they happen upon Olimar and Louie and end up having to rescue them. The first batch of side stories follows what Olimar and Louie were actually up to during the events of the main story mode, and the second set follows what happens to Olimar and Louie after the end of the story. Spoilers, but they end up coming back to the planet. The side stories aren't quite as in-depth as the main story mode. They play more like additional challenge missions remixed with some story elements added in, but considering my average playtime of story mode is about 20 to 25 in-game days, and there is 14 in-game days of these side stories, I'd say that's a fair amount of additional content. Plus, I'll take any excuse to spend more time with these little guys. Okay, so this one feels even more like cheating than the last entry, because not only is it also a port of an existing game, but it doesn't actually have any new content added to it, but here goes anyways. Fire Emblem Shadow Dragon and the Blade of Light, or its abbreviation Festadable. We're just gonna call it Fire Emblem for short for the rest of this video. But yes, Fire Emblem is a re-release of the very first game in the series. Originally released in 1990, the game never got overseas localization. Thus, 2020's release for the 30th anniversary is actually the first time this version of the game has been officially released in North America. You might be asking, what do I mean by this version? Well, the game actually got a full remake in 2009 for the DS called Fire Emblem Shadow Dragon. That remake is superior to this version of the game in every way, thanks not only to its presentation, but also the numerous quality of life changes it has. But I digress. We're here to talk about the original NES version of the game. Mostly, I like the game because as a series fan of Fire Emblem, it is nice to kind of look back on the franchise's humble roots. It's not a bad game by any stretch. I have been having a lot of fun playing it for sure, but its age does show a lot of the time, and not always in the most charming of ways. Now, Fire Emblem is a tactical turn-based RPG, so you take your turn, try to rout your enemies, and level up your units. I love how robust the cast of characters is in this game. There are 52 possible units for you to recruit, and for an RPG made for the Nintendo Entertainment System, that is a huge number. Sadly, you really only get to use 10 to 15 of them per level, and most of them are actually not even worth your time leveling up. There's still numerous nitpicks I have with this game, however, like the fact that the only way to level up your healers is to just allow them to be attacked and hope they don't die. Why on earth don't they gain experience from healing? Honestly, this is all fixed in the remake for DS, so if you had to choose between those two versions, get that one. But honestly, the original is still a really fun game, especially for longtime fans of Fire Emblem. However, if it's your first stepping stone into the series, I might suggest looking for a different entry point. Hey, so I'm a butthead and I actually never got this game and I've never played it, but a great deal of you guys and some of my friends really had great things to say about it. So I thought I'd give it a mention and ask one of my close friends, Chewbleema, to step in and give her thoughts on the game.
Hey everyone, Chewbleema here. Paper Mario is a much-loved series with several games among the generations. This was actually the first one I picked up on my own since the one on N64. Jumping into Paper Mario, it felt fresh and refined. The attention to detail and bump and soundtrack was enough to hook me, but the cute story about the Origami Kingdom kept me wanting more. The humor took on more of a kid-friendly approach with sprinkles of adult comedy to make it fun for all ages. The story was thoughtfully told, and if you're the type to 100% a game and collect all that the game has to offer, this is definitely a great one to grab. I was excited initially as the boss battles always find fun ways to switch it up, but regular battles outside of that were a bit of a snore. It got so tedious and repetitive, I actually found myself avoiding jumping on Goombas as a result. Overall, I would recommend this game. It provided hours of fun and laughs, and who knows, maybe you'll enjoy the combat more than I did?
Who is surprised that Age of Calamity is here? There's a lot I could say about Age of Calamity, so I'm going to. I enjoyed the first Hyrule Warriors, but I love Age of Calamity. Now spoilers, story-wise it was not at all what I expected, and you can thank Nintendo's marketing for that, but hey, they took the story in a very enjoyable way that genuinely took me by surprise. I did not for a moment expect Sidon, Yunobo, Riju, and Teba to show up and mount a rescue mission for the champions. Speaking of these guys, I am so impressed with how different they made each character feel from each other. Like, look at Revali and Teba's designs. They could have easily taken the easy route and made Teba basically a clone of Revali with slightly different stats or properties, but no. Their handling and movesets are completely unique to each other. Obviously, some characters are more enjoyable to play as than others. Daruk, who I love as a character, is a bit on the slow side for me, and Riju is just too fast. It's chaotic. Impa is definitely one of the very best additions to this game. Yeah, this little old lady from Breath of the Wild, she used to be a straight up badass. It took me about 100 hours to 100% complete this game, and I can safely say that by that point, I felt very satisfied with the amount of content. The story is a good length, and there is a wild amount of side missions. There's certainly not as much content here as the first Hyrule Warriors, or good god, Hyrule Warriors Definitive Edition, but you know what? I'm really happy with that. Hyrule Warriors Definitive Edition just had too much content to the point where I was feeling really done with that game, and nowhere near finished. Age of Calamity really strikes a better balance, has less repetitive gameplay, and serves as a wonderful sort of prequel, but also not really a prequel, to my favorite game of all time. While the story doesn't connect in the way I originally anticipated, the world building really goes a long way to enhancing the experience of Breath of the Wild. This game is absolutely fantastic and totally worth your time. P.S. I love you, Tarako. You are the best egg. And that's my top 5 Switch games for 2020, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. This is all just my own opinion, so feel free to throw me down some comments below and let me know what your favorite Switch games of the year were as well. Anyways, guys, that's all I've got for today. Thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you next time. Bye-bye. I just wanted to take a second to give a quick shout out to the lovely people who decided to give me some support on Patreon. In particular, I just want to say an extra big thanks to those who supported at the cheese tier or higher. That includes Tetra, Brenda, and Callie. Thank you so much, you guys. Your support is always appreciated. Thank you so much, and bye for now.